radio DJ. If anyone has heard of a slumber party show with their co-hosts on Asheville FM, super fun. Okay, and she is also, I guess you got a new job doing something really cool, but I'll leave that up to you for now. She's a mother, she's a friend, she's a pillar of the community. Give it up for McGhee!
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I have no idea how I'm going to follow that reading of the manifesto. So just give me some grace this morning. I'll talk about my new job after this, I think. It just feels like I'll keep y'all in suspense so nobody leaves during my talk. I know you care. So if you want to go to that first slide, I have slides. A few slides. If they don't work, you can do this time. Mess that up. Okay. I got a new job. Yes, I'm McGhee. All right. Cool. Nomads. Okay. Thanks. So when I got this prompt, I immediately said yes, and then I started worrying that I am and have been a fake nomad. So I have this real identity crisis that I was faking being a nomad or knowing anything about nomadism. And a couple of stories came to mind. So when I was in undergrad at UNC Chapel Hill, I was always a very, very dedicated student, and I really only saw this one path forward for myself in my life. So, and that was to be a really good student, go to graduate school, get a PhD in English, land my dream tenure track job where I taught 1 to 2 classes a semester and wrote novels on the side. And that was it, right? So I remember being in college as a freshman or a sophomore and an upperclassman that I was friends with, but had noticed that he had disappeared for about 6 months randomly. He showed back up looking very suntanned and told me that he had left school and gone to Italy just to travel around, no return ticket. He had somehow gotten a job at a fruit market, and he just worked at this fruit market in Italy for the past few months, and then he decided to come back for whatever reason. I don't know that I ever would have come back. So I was so stunned by this because I had no idea how somebody did something like this. It seemed completely closed off to me. And the other story I'm going to tell is about my husband, who I'll throw under the bus a little bit. He also was at Chapel Hill. We never met, thank God, because I don't know how that would have gone, but at that time. And he, about a month before graduation, decided one day in the middle of one of his classes that he hated school. He got up, he walked off the campus, he got in his car, and he drove to Portland, where he used his student loan money to open an art gallery, which very quickly closed and put him on a whole other path. But again, this is the kind of stuff that I had nightmares about when I was in college. I still have these nightmares where I'm like, oh no, I missed the whole semester of this class. What do I do, right? So still being stuck in what felt like a really anti-nomadic mindset of just thinking there is only one path for me. I don't know how to go off of it. I'm too scared. I don't have the resources to make it any other way. And I can't even imagine this for myself. So I did get the PhD after a lot of rejections the first year, did it again, had to sort of find my own way. That was the first time where I was really faced with the fact that I was going to fail at things and I would still be alive, right? I'd still have to figure out how to make something work. So there were days when I would go up to my mailbox because I applied to the 10 best programs in the country, of course, and I would receive multiple rejections every day. And I had no idea what to do. And somehow I made it. And that was my first entry into the way that I'm going to be talking about nomadism today. So I did get the PhD, and I am a scholar, which means that I had to lose myself in a black hole of research on what a nomad even is before I felt like I could tackle this topic. I still feel wildly unprepared. So if you want to go to the next slide, right have a little teaching moment. So the term has always encompassed many kinds of human life across eons. Like as long as there have been humans, even before humans, we have animals that are nomadic as well. There have been nomads wherever people have lived, wherever there has been any culture. And there are all kinds of nomads too. So we have hunter-gatherers, we have pastoral nomads, we have tinkers and traders. And something that I learned a while ago that I'm always so fascinated by is that nomadism is literally part of our DNA, because the human ear is attuned to the frequency of birdsong. More than anything else, humans hear birds. And they think this is because birds let people know where it was safe to live, where there were resources. So this is part of us today. And it's so deeply meaningful to me, and it connects me, even though I have felt like a fake nomad, to this nomadic heritage from many, many generations before me. So some nomadic cultures do follow the rhythms of the world and the land, and others follow people, right? And I have some examples here. We have some 19th century Bedouins, the Irish travelers, which are a really fascinating group. They also are represented in the United States. And then I threw in a digital nomad as well, because the other thing about nomadism is that it's the definition, it's a word that's really been a part of human culture and human civilization for the whole time we've been here. So it kind of encompasses everything that people want to think about it. So nomadism for me is kind of a neutral term about a particular way of life and attitude and stance toward life. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more, because we can live into a certain kind of nomadic philosophy that I'm going to bring to you today. Or we can go out on our own and kind of do it alone, which is something different. So the traits of nomadism typically include things like resilience, cunning, scrappiness, adaptability. Nomads have been alternately romanticized and stigmatized. We think about the beat poets traveling across the country with this romantic vision of how life could be, right? Also, nomads get blamed for a lot of things in other countries, right? And nomadism has evolved. Digital nomads carry their resources and their capital with them. And they, so I was basically so overwhelmed by all of this, and I got really nervous about potentially corrupting a word with a lot of history and backstory. But again, because the nomad has been around for so long in some form or fashion, we can't know its beginnings or its potential endings. And we can really only talk about its becoming. And that's the way into nomadism for me today. So do you want to go to the next one? Thank you. Ooh, that picture we got squashed. Squashed Pumpkinhead in Iceland. So I have these examples of like being a nomad in my own life and the way that I prioritize travel. It's great. It's a great picture when it looks good. And I also have realized that I really feel rooted to home. I was born in Asheville. I lived here. I came back here after graduate school because no other place in the world has felt like home to me. And so I'm rooted in place, and I have discovered that there is just as much to uncover in the half mile surrounding my house as there is in 500 kilometers in another country. So, and I have the pandemic to thank for some of that, because it got me walking outside in areas that were really close to home. So I developed this really deep relationship with the natural world around me, and feeling like I knew some of these plants and animals I was seeing, and I could learn from them. So what am I bringing to the term nomad right here, right now? For me, nomadism is about this state of becoming. It's about acknowledging the continually changing face of the self, the landscape, the world, and even the universe. And for me, nomadism is not rootlessness. It's actually the opposite, because many of these nomadic cultures are also very rooted in place. They might travel just a very short distance between the places they live seasonally. They have to know the land, the culture, the people that they're traveling with or traveling to. It's essential for their survival. So it's a rootedness and also an openness, a curiosity, a resilience, and a becoming. So is this why I'm so drawn to the term? Because of this idea of becoming and possibility, and why I feel such an affinity for the nomad, even though I've always felt so rooted in place. So for me, again, nomadism is ultimately neutral. You could be a nomad who's deeply woven into your culture and community. You could be a nomad who wanders alone. You could be a nomad who causes a lot of trouble or doesn't. And you can live into the romanticization, the stigma, or anywhere in between. But I want to offer a different definition of the nomad that is about, again, a way of life, a philosophy, and an ethos. An invitation to an unfolding of wonder in the world and in ourselves. And it's about falling into another kind of flow outside of the structures that we really believe bind us and force us to do things. These limited beliefs that there was only one road for me, there was only one path. Do you want to go to the next slide? So instead of the road, I want to offer a different kind of metaphor. So in the aftermath of the last 5 years, between the pandemic and Hurricane Helene, many of us have felt and continue to feel really uprooted and ungrounded. We saw our communities fragment in one instance, coalesce in the next. And even though we came together in such a profound way after the hurricane, there's still a lot of fear and anxiety that I have around the sustainability of the community, the way that we move forward from this, the challenges that we're going to continue to face. And as we near a year anniversary of the hurricane, I definitely, and maybe some or a lot of you, am still feeling a lot of groundlessness and anxiety. So nomadism actually offers us a way in to reground within ourselves. And in this philosophy, it's about responding to the world in a way that is awake and alive and calibrating ourselves within a larger environment or situation. It's about being open rather than closed off. It's a recognition that home lies within the self and that the self is always in a state of becoming, a becoming that we can come home to and be curious about all the time. So it's about opening rather than rigidity. It's about questions rather than answers. And it's not about this one way forward. It's not about this teleology with an endpoint. It's about decentralization, so this other image, about not knowing where the path will take us. And maybe if we see a path, it means it's not our path because somebody else already walked it. It's not a straight line. It's a root system. And it's even more than that because connections can also erupt and flourish from outside and enter in. And at the point where things seem like they're going to break or stop completely, new movement is actually possible. So at inflection points in my life, I made the decision, either because I was forced to or just because I was able to actually consciously make it, to move with rather than against, and to flow rather than force. So my decision to return to Asheville in 2012, because as I said, it's really the only place I've ever felt home. I was at a point where I was leaving the mountains and crying as I drove away or flew away. My decision to leave academia and focus on building communities here in the place that I really cared about, rather than choosing to continue driving forward within the only career path I'd ever envisioned for myself. And then also after Helene, this moment again, where I was faced with the choice to keep doing what I'd been doing for years because I felt like I didn't have the resources to do anything else, or to actually step into the life that I knew I was supposed to be living into it, rather than dying with regrets that I didn't live up to it. So all of these decisions and these inflection points have made incredible evolutions possible, most clearly in the realm of my work and my career, which I want to say is not, I don't differentiate that. It's not big and separated from my life. It's really an important part of my life. So if you want to go to the next slide, y'all might have seen in my bio that I am the co-founder of Appalachian Psychedelic Society. And yes, I will be talking a little bit about psychedelics just a minute. Folks, welcome. So as the co-founder of Appalachian Psychedelic Society, we support the creation of a responsible, sustainable psychedelic infrastructure in Appalachia. Appalachia has been left out of conversations and extracted from for so much of its history. And it is time for us to have a seat at the table. Not just this table, all the tables, but this table specifically for psychedelics. And in thinking about psychedelics, and what they do to the brain based on fMRI and imaging scanning, I can think of no better metaphor than the one I am using today with nomadism. So in brain scan, which I don't read a lot of fMRI stuff, I believe we have some people who actually do, but you can see actually how the brain's default mode network, which is the rote way of thinking, processing, it gives us our sense of self, the way we tend to move through the world just in our kind of natural resting state, right? It actually goes offline. And in its place, new connections emerge. Not only new connections, but a whole new web of connection. And you can see here the areas that light up in the brain when psilocybin is introduced, right? And I just love this title because it's exactly what I'm getting out about nomadism, is that it's a way to desynchronize your life in a really productive way. So poor patient 5 also threw up, which is why not much activity going on there. He had an emetic episode. That's what the student said. So, and then also this right-hand diagram as well is really kind of showing you the map of what psychedelics do. So they link parts of the brain that usually don't communicate and exchange information. And then neuronal communication changes, neuroplasticity increases. They're finding now that psychedelics may extend life. People report synesthesia and connection with ancestors in the natural world. And most importantly, deeper connection to the self. Deep experiences of healing trauma, whether it's trauma that happened recently, years ago, or even across generations. And then a study published in Nature that some of these images are from found that a single dose of psilocybin, which causes acute distortions of space-time perception and ego dissolution, produces rapid and persistent therapeutic effects and neuroconnectivity. And these changes are driven by brain desynchronization across spatial scales that dissolve network distinctions, especially dissolving the default mode network, which again is related to our sense of space, time, and self, and that those effects actually persist for weeks or even longer. So what this is showing here is that psychedelics enable us to become strange to ourselves, so we can meet ourselves anew and get to know ourselves more deeply and more truly. And they create entropy. And we think of entropy as maybe having a negative connotation, but in this definition of nomadism, this is exactly what we want. We want the old systems to break down, and we want new connections to come forward and become available. Because breakdown produces something new, always. So there are other ways to experience what I'm calling nomadism, other than collective tragedy and trauma or tripping your face off. So if you did not come here for the psychedelics portion, I have good news that we're moving on. So if you want to go to the next slide. Oh, good. Yep, thank you. I like it too. So as the director of the Enneagram School of Awakening, I have also taught and studied about the Enneagram for many, many years. And for folks who are not familiar with the Enneagram, I'm going to give a really, really brief gloss of it. So there are these 9 interconnected points. Each point is connecting to other points, and they're all connected by an outer circle. So the outer circle shows us that actually everything is connected and that we have all of these 9 energies. Most people know about the Enneagram through typing, right? You have an Enneatype for a type, and people will say, oh, what's your Enneagram type, right? And they'll kind of create a fun conversation, right? But this is really showing us that we have all of these 9 Enneagram types within ourselves. And we can think of the 9 types as archetypes. So if you're not really familiar with the Enneagram, the archetype is a pretty good word for it, oversimplified but approximate. So within the Enneagram also, we have these centers of intelligence, sometimes called the wisdom centers. And there are 3 centers of intelligence, and within each there are 3 types. So we're breaking it all down. And the 3 centers of intelligence are the gut or body center, which is archetypes 8, 9, and 1, which I stood out there, archetypal names here. And the heart center, types 2, 3, and 4. And then the head center, types 5, 6, and 7. And the centers of intelligence, all of us have all 3 of them. One of them tends to be more online, more drive in the bus than the other ones, depending on where our core Indian type actually lies. And typically what happens is that we're living from this core type. It's running everything. We're in the space of reaction. We're not really awake and conscious to it. And it also means the center of intelligence is kind of out of control. So if you have someone in your life, like my husband, who, if you go on a long road trip, they never let you drive. They're going to drive the entire 20-hour road trip. And you're like, are you okay? Right? That's sort of like when you have your core type, that center of intelligence is so online and so overdoing. And the other ones don't get to speak as loudly, or maybe you don't know how to listen to them. So I'm going to actually take us into the Enneagram. We're all going to take a little nomadic journey together through the centers of intelligence, because I really want to show you how you can become a little bit strange to yourself and come into these other wisdom centers, because each of them has something really, really important to teach us, and each of them is available to us. So if y'all wouldn't mind either closing your eyes or just keeping them open with a soft gaze, whatever's comfortable for you, getting comfortable in your seat. It's morning. I figured a meditation would feel pretty good. Right? So, and I'm going to take you now on a nomadic journey through these 3 centers of intelligence in the Enneagram. So we're going to come to the body center or the gut center first. So your feet might be firmly planted on the floor here. Or if you're curled up in your chair, sitting another way, just noticing those places where you are connecting with the seat, with the floor, where your feet are connecting with ground. And I want you to now feel the way that this earth is carrying you and holding you up. And I want you to feel a current of power from the ground, from the earth, into your feet and into your legs. This is the center of power. It's the center also of anger and control. It's the center of these earthy qualities, these grounded qualities. I want you to now feel that this power from the earth, you're drawing it up into your feet and into your legs, where it's sparking, right? There's energy here. This is the way that you carry yourself in the world. And I want you to bring this energy all the way up into your core, where it's almost like maybe a light turns on, or maybe there's a fire there. The core is the center of your being and the center of your strength. This is where you feel present to yourself and your body. The wisdom of the body or gut center teaches us all about our own power and our own strength. It also teaches us about boundaries, where I stop and other things start, who I am in this space right now. And as you're focusing on your own core, feeling that power there as your navel draws into your spine and you sit up straighter, because connecting down to the earth also brings you up into the air. It brings you into alignment. It helps you sit tall from this place of centeredness. And now we're going to travel up into the heart center. So staying online with the core and also noticing if this is not as available to you today. This is something that changes. You can continue this nomadic journey after today and check in with these centers of intelligence and travel through your own body and your own wisdom centers. So bringing the energy now up into the heart. And I like to actually place a hand on my heart here and connect with myself. See, the heart as the center of emotional intelligence, of resonance and connection, of love. When I hold my hand on my heart here and I focus in, I feel my heart beating, my life force. I also feel my emotions more tenderly. They come up to the surface a little easier. I suddenly feel a little more access to sadness, maybe to shame, to all these other things. I feel warmth and love as well. So this is the center of, again, emotional intelligence, of love, shame, and image, how I see myself, how you see me, how I want you to see me, how I want to connect. So feeling that in yourself, in those tenderest places in your heart. And now I'm going to bring us up into the head center. So an invitation to still keep these two online if you're able to access them. And now bringing the energy up into your head. You might just give your head a little pat. Yeah. And the head center is the center of intelligence and intellect. It's the center of imagination, innovation, vision. The imagery I love for this is of a light bulb, a bright light that is shining right in the center of your head. And for me, it actually feels good to close my eyes here, or open my eyes here and look out at the world with this excitement that I associate with the head, with this energy of imagination and vision that is here and that wants to come out. This energy is so big, it feels like it's now flooding out of the top of my head with a bright white light as it's connecting to the greater field of mind. So now that you've tapped into those three centers for yourself, it's an invitation again to get curious, to come back to this idea of nomadism as becoming and opening and questioning. What can you learn from these three places of wisdom that you already have access to? How can you come back to each of those and connect with your true grounded self and know exactly what you're meant to do and know? So this, again, is a nomadic approach to the Enneagram, because if we think about just like what type we are, we close ourselves off to all of this experience. But it's actually possible to get into the experience of all of the 9 types. And I just gave you a taste of that through the Centers of Intelligence. And once you know that in your own body, those points are now accessible to you. And you can go there when you need to. You can travel those nomadic paths, which are also not straight lines. There's a lot of movement and dynamism, and it's not necessarily linear in the Enneagram. And it's so profound to work with. So let's return to the image that I started with, which is the next one. Actually, I put it in twice. So I was in a literal box here. And I want to say the Enneagram is not about boxing you in. It's about helping you see how you box yourself in, right? And then open. So here I was in one of Kusama's infinity rooms, which is just incredible. Has anyone been to the exhibition? It's so incredible. So this one is actually called Aftermath of Obliteration of Eternity, which I feel like is a very happy title, but also really perfect for what I'm trying to say today. So, and this, again, for me, is a new kind of map for nomadic philosophy and nomadic life, because light here is reflecting all of the other lights. No one light is able to be separated from the others, and it visually stretches into forever, even though this space you actually walk into is quite small. And it's a web in which every point reflects back every other point. And in the smallest space, or after the most profound darkness, which the space does go fully dark, the infinite becomes possible. So how are we doing on time? I'm not paying attention. I don't know when it started. Do we have time for like a quick activity? Like a short one? Okay, so let's do a quick activity. I want you, I was gonna have you move around, but in the interest of time, you can just sort of turn, but it's like try to turn randomly. I was like, I bring randomness into this for my little nomadic map, but sort of swivel around, don't kick a coffee over, but and just talk to someone, maybe 2 people max. And what I want you to do now is ask the question that's on your name tag. You're going to go one at a time, and you're going to ask the question to the other person 3 times. And each time you will listen to the answer, you will not say anything, and you will repeat the question. You do that 3 times, and then you're going to switch. And we have approximately, 3 minutes for this. So go ahead and do that. And the question is, where are you going? So if you didn't pick up your name tag, where are you going?
I wasn't used to a big car. I got a new Where are you going?
So the purpose of that activity, which hopefully you got to go through, and if not, you're welcome to finish it afterwards, is that the more you ask the question, the stranger it becomes. So we all have our first level answer to that question. And then when we're asked again, we get to go deeper, and it gets truer. And then we're asked again, that's how we kiss. So I hope you all maybe have that experience. I'd love to hear about it. We are going to maybe have like a minute or so for Q&A. And I just want to end with something that when I was thinking about this theme and thinking about the ways that nomadism actually allows us to come home to ourselves as our place to find our ground and uncover our potential. So I wrote something, and I'll share with you. It's very short. Tend to the soil of yourself. Build a home from your bones, a song from your heart to fill the space, and a light from your spirit to welcome love in. Thank you.
Give it up,